Hello artists, I am Mr. McCaffrey, and this class is called Introduction to Studio Art. Okay guys, today we're going to draw some hot air balloons, some rolling green hills, some snow-capped mountains, and a sunset. Like every time, we're going to start by sharpening our pencil and making sure that we have all of our materials available. And then we're going to go ahead and draw in a horizon line, that line that represents where the earth meets the sky. I like to make sure that my pencil's been sharpened evenly and that it's not going to break right away by testing it on the side of the paper. And here we go. A hot air balloon is rather simple to draw. The balloon portion, obviously, is the shape of a sphere, and the basket portion where the people sit is quite obviously the form of a cylinder, both of which we've practiced many times. The bottom of the balloon is going to form into a cylinder as well, so we're going to start with one evenly spaced apart smiley face line. And then directly below that evenly spaced smiley face line, we're going to go ahead and draw a short cylinder that's going to be the basket for our hot air balloon flyers to sit in. Then simply connect that original smiley face line with one smooth curved line to our sphere for the balloon, and this is the basic form of all hot air balloons. Like it is in most art, we start with this basic form, but then we can transform it and change it and make it into something unique to ourselves. Now that we've drawn our basic form, we can go ahead and erase some of those underlying lines that helped us get everything in the right place, and we can move on to the more complex details of a hot air balloon. At the top of a hot air balloon, there is a small circle. In this case, that circle is going to be an oval. An oval is also known as an ellipse, and it is what the top of a cylinder looks like. So we're going to draw that small football shape at the very top of our hot air balloon. An ellipse, I always like to start with 2 dots. Connect those 2 dots with one smiley face line and one frowning face line. And since this is going to be a very narrow sheet, we're going to add one more frowning face line on the inside, and that's going to make it look like there's a very thin space in between the top and the inside of the hot air balloon. The first 2 lines are going to start at the edges of that oval and come straight out and connect to the edge of our hot air balloon shape. The next 2 are going to start a little bit indented on that smiley face part of the circle and follow that same question mark shape in both directions. The back is easier than you might think, as you just have to do one that moves to the right and one that moves to the left, making sure to keep where they start evenly spaced, and then that last one just gets connected where the edge of it is. And it gives us that hot air balloon puffiness. Now we need to use our ropes or cables to connect our hot air balloon to our hot air balloon basket. I like to use 1 rope or cable per individual section of the hot air balloon. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe we'll do even 1 more if that looks off. Okay, now we'll give the basket a little lip or rim around the edge just by drawing the letter C and the reverse letter C. That's just going to make it look like the top of the basket is a little bit bigger than the bottom of the basket. We'll repeat that same line on the inside of the basket. There we go. And now we're going to draw a cross-hatching pattern, diagonal curved lines that form to meet that shape of the basket. In one direction, we want them all to be fairly evenly spaced, and then we're going to draw them in the exact opposite direction. And notice they're not perfectly straight lines, they have a little curve to them, and that helps show off the shape of this wicker basket. Okay guys, now we're going to practice some rolling green hills. Now when we're drawing hills like this, the hills that are closest to us are going to be at the bottom of the paper, and they're going to be the largest. And then as the hills move up the paper and farther away from us, they get smaller and closer together. Mountains are actually fairly simple. We're going to start with some triangles that have some overlapping shapes, and then we're going to go to the point of the triangle and just kind of draw a zigzag line down the middle. Then we just shaded one half of that zigzag line, and that's going to give us a nice mountainous landscape. We want to make sure that all of the mountains are different heights, and all of the mountains are different widths, and all of them have different jagged lines, so that we have a nice variety of mountain. Okay, we've got ourselves one hot air balloon, several mountains, and a nice green rolling hill landscape. All that's left to do now is come up with some unique and interesting hot air balloons to fill the rest of the paper, and then of course, grab your colored pencils and color them in. once we've got all of our hot air balloons colored in, it's time for those green rolling hills. We're going to start with a very light green or even a yellow, and we're going to color in the tops of all those hills that very light green or yellow color. Then we're going to go ahead and take our regular green and shade in all the hills. That's going to leave the top of those hills that nice bright green or yellow color. And then lastly, we're going to take a dark green or a black, and we're going to go through and we're going to add that on the very bottom of each one of those hills. And that's going to give us that nice sense of depth and distance. When we're shading in these mountains, we want to make sure to leave the very bottom part of those mountains white. That's because we've got a little bit more atmosphere down there towards the bottom, and so we're not going to be able to see quite as much detail. Okay, this time instead of blue sky and clouds, we're going to add a sunset. So we've got the sun in there, and we're going to start with the first color that's going to radiate, which is going to be yellow. Then we're going to blend in a little bit of our yellow with a little bit of orange. Then we're going to blend in a little bit of red with a little bit of our orange. Then we're going to do some purple. We're going to blend in that red with the purple. Lastly, we're going to do a little bit of blue. And finally, we're going to blend that blue into black. And that's going to be our sunset. Now, the longer you work on blending these colors, the better it will look. One final thing I'm doing here is a little black outline so it's easier to see, and then I've got a little white paint to toss in some stars. Again, if you want your sunset to be brighter and more vibrant, you're going to want to spend a lot of time very carefully blending and shading in all these colors. Okay, that's it, some hot air balloons. Remember, I want you to use colored pencil, I want you to use basic forms, and I want you to fill the whole entire paper with color. Good luck.
Does my picture have to look like your picture?
No, definitely not. I want your art to be about you and to look like you.
Can my picture look like your picture?
Yes, of course. I'm an art teacher. You can absolutely copy what I've done.
What if my drawing isn't perfect? What if I'm terrible at art?
Well, no drawing is ever perfect, so we don't have to worry about that. What we do have to worry about is improving on our past performance.
Do I have to take a picture of this when I'm done?
Yes. Every single time you complete an assignment in this class, you must photograph it and turn it in on Google Classroom. Every single time.